Hello everyone, welcome to my Let's Play, brand new Let's Play. The game is System Shock 2. Now this game was recently released or re-released or just, I don't know. Anyway, it's out on Good Old Games finally. One of the most requested games on Good Old Games, GOG.com. So you can now pick up this game for buttons, not literally. And this is the game that spiritually inspired the BioShock series. If you're a fan of BioShock, BioShock 2, or if, like me, you're looking forward to BioShock Infinite, which is out next week, get in, then this game might interest you. Before we get started though, a little bit of history, because I think System Shock 2 has got quite an interesting one. Now, System Shock 2 shares the same engine as Thief the Dark Project and Thief 2, which is the Dark engine. Now, Ken Levine worked on Thief the Dark Project while he was working at Looking Glass Studios, and I think he left in 2007 after the game was released, and he founded a new studio which was Irrational Games. Now, most likely due to both studios' employees' familiarity with each other, Looking Glass approached Irrational about co-developing a game. Both teams were fans of the original System Shock, which was released in 1994, and they wanted to create something that had a similar feel to it. Now, originally the game was called Junction Point, and it was designed with the same concept of a dungeon crawler, only in a science fiction setting. And the thing was, System Shock had poor sales when it was released in 94, and this was, or it's claimed that this was due to the press mistaking it for a Doom clone. Now, I think Doom's awesome, and back in the day when it was released, you know, everyone knows how big Doom was, but it kind of makes sense that because Doom was so great and successful, loads of people wanted to do their own games that were like Doom, hence Doom clone. Some were good, some were crap, but eventually there was that many games copying like what Doom did that it was like a bad stigma to be considered a Doom clone, and they say, whoever the hell they are, they say that that's why System Shock did so poorly in terms of sales, even though it's actually really, really good. So to differentiate this new game from Doom, the developers wanted to make sure that they incorporated significant role-playing elements, because of, you know, dungeon crawler, and a persistent story, which the story to this game is fantastic. Now, development took 18 months, and at a budget of, I think it was 1.7 million. I might check that at some point. And it was pitched to several publishers until EA signed on. Now, at this stage, it was suggested that the game become a sequel to the original System Shock. So the name Junction Point, that went for a beating, and story elements were rewritten to follow on from the original game's events and where that left off. Now, it's interesting to note that Warren Spector worked on the original System Shock while he was working at Looking Glass Studios. He was working there at the same time Ken Levine was. And Warren left Looking Glass around the same time that Ken Levine did, and he formed the Austin, Texas branch of Ion Storm. Ion Storm, you may or may not know, that was John Romero's studio. John Romero did the original Doom. Now, Ion Storm Texas's first game was Deus Ex, which is another one of my all-time favourites, and a game with close gameplay similarities to System Shock 2. I think that came out the year after System Shock 2. System Shock 2 came out in 1999, Deus Ex came out in 2000. Now, when he eventually left Ion Storm in 2004, Warren Spector announced a year later, in 2005, that he had formed a new studio, Junction Point Studios, taking System Shock 2's original title. Then in 2007, Disney said they bought the studio and released an Epic Mickey, and that came out in 2010. So that's Epic Mickey. It's a fair stretch away from where we started with System Shock 2 at Looking Glass Studios. Anyway, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. History lesson over. Let's crack on with System Shock 2. Hope you all enjoy the ride.
Welcome to the Ramsey Center UNN recruitment facility. Please watch your step when leaving the train. The grav shafts at the end of the hall will take you to the street-level training and recruitment center. Please proceed to the grav shafts.
Welcome to Global Com. To make a terrestrial call, pick up the receiver and speak or dial the number. To make an interplanetary call, swipe your credit ident or insert 75 nanites, then dial the number. No. What a boring job. Wonder how they get in there. Can't interact with the bins. Don't think there's anything else in here. No, there isn't. The phone. Right, let's get out of here.
Step into the grav shafts to proceed to the street level recruitment.
Whee! Now there's an Easter egg up here. Not a literal Easter egg. Oh, it is Easter soon. Next week, yeah.
Before you choose your career, you'll want to learn some basic abilities. First, you should go into the basic training center. When you're done with basic training, proceed to the advanced training area.
No.
If you've completed basic training, you're ready for the advanced lessons provided here. Advanced training will familiarize you with the 3 key areas of military service: weapons training, technical training, and psionics training. Approach the Cyberlink booth of your choice to train in that area. When you finish training in the 3 areas, proceed directly to the recruitment center to choose and start your... If you've completed basic training, you're ready for the advanced lessons provided here. Advanced training will... Here's where you make your choice, soldier. Here's where you enlist in one of the 3 branches of the military. Once you decide on your branch of service, there's no going back. A shuttle will take you to a UNN orbital space station, where you'll receive a briefing regarding your yearly postings. Good luck.
Now, each of the 3 career paths in this game will give you mainly a different approach to combat and other situations. The Marines, they're more combat focused, so you can make initial character choices based on like your ability to use weapons, and I think your survivability, your hit points, I think. The Navy, that's less combat orientated and more techie. So you can start with higher skills in like hacking and modifying and maintenance and things like that. The OSA, that's an even more different kettle of fish there. The psionics core, whatever. So you can have like telekinesis and cryokinesis, pyrokinesis and force fields and invisibility and all crazy shit like that. One sec. Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I'll edit that big massive chunk out. There was a knock at the door, so while I was downstairs, got myself some crisps, or sausage roll and a pork pie. Good to go. Right, so I'm gonna go for Navy because I like the hacking side of things in this game. Also with Navy and OSA, with the hacking or with the telekinesis, you can get items that you might not normally be able to get. So I mean, as a Marine, you can still invest your points in those skills, but it's harder to get into because like the initial levels of skills are quite high, but then like the next skill above it is lower, so it's like it's hard to start in something that is to carry on in it. So it's easier, you'd have an easier time going if you focus on what you pick, but it doesn't stop you from diversifying, which I'll probably end up doing. I'll go with the Navy, but I will invest in some combat skills. Probably won't touch the psionics. Right, so this is year 1. Now, there's 3 years, which is essentially 3 choices you make to your starting character build. And then the 4th year is when the game starts properly. But you don't actually play out the years, it's just like picking something. Just makes it a bit more interesting.
Welcome aboard the space station Chesapeake Bay, sailor. It looks like you've picked up some standard weapon skills at basic on Coronado Island. Now it's time for your tour of duty. Your tour will consist of 4 postings over 4 years. In this man's navy, you're given a choice of 3 different postings a year. It's up to you to decide what kind of career you want to have, so choose wisely. Just approach a shuttle bay to receive a briefing on a posting. If you think that posting is right for you, head into that bay to accept the assignment.
I thought he was going to talk for longer. I've got a mouthful of food. Okay, so this is our first choice.
The UNN Lucille is looking for volunteers for their military police detachment. Those sailors can get pretty rowdy on these year-long cruises, so you better not be afraid of a tussle.
So that was +1 to modify and strength.
The UNN Lucille is looking for an engineer's mate to help maintain the ship's core energy systems. There's some heavy lifting involved, sailor, but you'll learn your way around the high-tech equipment.
Repair and strength.
The UNN Lucille is looking for an ops training officer to learn the ship's navigation and data control systems. You'll get your feet wet with the high-tech systems, but also expect some heavy lifting.
That's hack and strength, and that's the one I'm going to go for. Your tour of duty aboard the UNN Lucille has concluded. You spent a productive year. Captain Mayer was pleased with your work, especially with the initiative you showed in physical training. A friendly ensign showed you some back doors into the ship's primary data loop, and you spent your time off pumping good old-fashioned iron. You've gained +1 hack and +1 strength. Booyah! And I just materialised out of thin air back where I was. Hello, love. Fine, ignore me. Right, what we got now?
Laverne, Florida hosts the Navy's premier tactical training school. While maybe not as respected as the Marines facility at Fort Bush, there's a lot to be learned here.
+2 standard weapons.
The UNN Pierce is ferrying liberated political prisoners back home from their detention near Saturn. The Pierce has been assigned a detachment of Marines and needs sailors to load, administer, and maintain the arms on board the ship.
+1 maintenance.
The UNN Carfax is undertaking a mission to examine a newly discovered Class B comet approaching the outer solar system. You'll likely pick up some useful skills working with the high-tech navigation systems aboard this newly commissioned heavy cruiser.
And that was +2 cyber affinity. Now, what was that? Maintenance. Maintenance is pretty good because in this game your weapons degrade with use. And if your weapon is at like condition 1, it could jam at any moment, and you don't want to jam when you're fighting something. So that's very handy. +2 standard weapons is very tempting because we start off quite weak in terms of combat as a Navy person guy thing. But I'm going to specialise heavily in my chosen field, so I'm going for +2 cyber affinity.
The UNN Carfax is undertaking a mission to examine a newly discovered class...
Your tour of duty aboard the UNN Carfax is concluded. It was a good year for you, but not a great one for the Carfax. After taking a surprise hit from a small meteorite that separated from the larger mass, the Carfax was forced to limp home. With 123 casualties, including the Chief Navigation Officer, you stepped in and filled his shoes, and by the end of the year, you became quite skilled with the NeuroNav interface. You've gained +2 cybernetic affinity. Cyber affinity gives you bonuses to hacking. It's like you need... Hey, forgot about that. Doing the Macarena. And he's being very boring. I think hack is like a base requirement for certain things. Like, you need to be hack level something to hack something. Or like I think they need the hack 4 to hack a turret. Whereas cyber affinity makes it easier on the hacks that you can actually do.
The Navy's Marie Curie Research Facility on Aquinas 4 is currently conducting research on a new strain of spaceborne virus that killed 220,000 citizens of New Atlanta. To lift the quarantine, we must determine how the virus pierced the city's micronanite shielding.
Yeah, +1 research.
The Navy maintains a survival training school on the surface of Io, the third moon of Jupiter. Pros? There's no better way to improve stamina and survival skills. Cons? The 21.2% mortality rate.
+2 survival, very strong choice.
The Navy strongly encourages every sailor to undertake some amount of zero-G training. A year at the Yamamoto space station in Earth's orbit will more than suffice.
And +2 agility. The higher your agility, the faster you move, and I think you take less fall damage, or something like that. Endurance, more hit points. And research. Now, with research, if anyone's played System Shock, you know, you get a research camera, and as you take photos of the enemies, it'll generate research points, and you end up doing more damage to them, and you get other bonuses. With System Shock 2, you have to directly research items that you find based on certain enemies. So, like, I think from one particular enemy, you've got a chance of looting an organ from its body, and you can research that organ using various chemicals, which you have to explore the ship and find them. And once you've researched and understand that organ, the idea is you understand more about the biology of that enemy, and you know what its weaknesses are, and it usually comes in the form of bonus damage. And again, you need higher research level to research certain things. I'm going to go with that.
The Navy's Marie Curie Research Facility on Aquinas 4 is currently
I usually go for the endurance one, but let's see how this works out. Your tour as you see at the Marie Curie Research Facility has concluded. Congratulations on surviving the disaster, sailor. When the saboteurs removed the safety seals and released the virus into the atmospheric control regulators, you were one of the few to reach safety in time. However, you were able to pick up a few odds and ends on research techniques before the crap hit the fan. You've gained +1 research. How nice. This is where the game begins.
Watch out. I'm getting strange readings from that radar dish outside the window. It's become unstable due to... Move! Take cover!
Oh no!
Critical decompression hazard in the cryo recovery suite. Evacuate immediately.
Right, so we've got a wrench, and we're not afraid to use it. By the way, there should be a cutscene explaining how you get here. Basically, you get a mission to be like part of the security detachments for this ship. The ship we're on is the Braun. It's the first faster than light ship ever, and this is its maiden voyage. Now, because it's a purely scientific vessel, it's owned by a corporation which is Trioptimum, but the military didn't want them having all the exclusives and doing things however the hell he wanted, so the military have attached a military escort ship, which is the UNN Rickenbacker. It's effectively attached to the ship, and it's secured by a docking tube, which is referred to as the umbilical. You were a member of the Rickenbacker crew, but you end up getting transferred over to the Braun, and you have this operation on you, which installs a cybernetic interface onto you. It's like a cybernetic grafting onto you, so you can have all upgrades and shit. And as part of the recovery, you're asleep for ages. Don't know whether it's days or weeks, but while you're in stasis, something has gone terribly, terribly wrong. You can probably